Right, hello everybody. Here we are again on the Two Saints Show. Myself, Mark C, my co-host Mark H. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I'm doing well, mate. It's been a busy week and it's a busy couple of days leading up to the end of the season. Obviously, it's all going to be very interesting.
Yep, it's all been kicking off.
Oh, the thing is we still have loads to play for. Breaking the 50-point barrier, you can't get, especially given the last few seasons, and it would be nice to see us do it because, Ralph, to my mind's probably been our best manager since Ronald, and hopefully he's able to prove that on next Sunday.
Yeah, and I don't think it'd be too much of a stretch to say he's performed nothing short of a miracle, hasn't he, really?
I mean, compared to where we were, certainly. Compared to where we were. I mean, if you and I were having this conversation, say, middle of November, it was looking fairly bleak. But
absolutely.
But we'll probably touch on that during the show.
Absolutely. So I'd just like to remind everybody we're now back in our usual slot on a Thursday on Fiesta 95 FM from 12 till 2 p.m. That's Fiesta 95 FM in Southampton and onlineradiobox.com, and that's 12 till 2 p.m. every Thursday. Also, we have our podcast, which goes up on our Facebook page, Two Saints Show. That goes up every week. You can go onto the page there, direct messages if you want a direct copy of the podcast. We can send it to you. Failing that, have a listen to the podcast on there. If you don't want to do it that way, you can go over to our YouTube channel, the Two Saints Podcast Show. Have a listen there. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. Feel free to leave any feedback, positive or negative. We can't do the show without your input, and we do value it greatly. And keep your eyes and ears out because we're currently in the process of trying to set up an RSS feed so we get it out across other platforms as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That'll be coming up in the near future. So that takes care of all that. So coming up in today's show, we have the Two Saints review of Saints 1, Brighton 1 and AFC Bournemouth 0, Saints 2. Saints news, other football news, Saints transfer news, Two Saints preview of the final game of the season, Saints versus Sheffield United. So we're just going to do a short disclaimer for you, and when we do that, when we come back from that, we'll be going straight into the show.
Fiesta FM Southampton, 95.0 FM.
Disclaimer. The following program contains language, views, and opinions that may be unsuitable for some listeners. This is not necessarily a view or judgment of Fiesta FM, its management, other hosts, or advertisers. The show is for entertainment purpose only and is not intended to defame, insult, or offend anybody in any shape or form whatsoever. Listeners are advised to exercise caution in their own environment when listening to the show.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Right, welcome back everybody. So today's first topic, Two Saints review of Saints 1, Brighton 1 and Bournemouth 0, Southampton 2. So we've got a result against Bournemouth and we drew against Brighton. Over to my co-host Mark to kick off today's show.
So basically the Saints 1, Brighton 1, shock horror was, I mean, if you would have seen my facial expression on Thursday night when it wasn't necessarily the personnel, it was more the positions that they took up on the field of play. It was, we've played, as far as I'm concerned, and I haven't heard anybody actually express any opinion either way on this, but as far as I'm concerned, we set up with a back three, one of which was a centre. So it was basically one centre back who was Yannick Vestergaard.
Yep.
On either side of him, you had Højbjerg, who was playing as a right back.
Yep.
And you had Jake Wilkins playing in his natural position of left back.
Yep, right? Making his Premier League debut.
Yeah.
What a time to make that.
So it was confusion reigned for me. I just sat there in amazement and wonder. I mean, I've got to be honest, it was a while before I actually heard Bednarek's name.
Yep.
And even then I sort of realised that he was kind of playing an anchor midfield role because he wasn't playing, he definitely wasn't playing as a centre half.
No. Strange move.
So that did baffle me a bit. I'm gonna say this. It was something that we talked about beforehand. Too many changes for me.
Absolutely.
There was no continuity in the selection, except that You have to make changes. It's a short period of time.
Yep.
The amount of games that the players are playing, and I understand that you have to make changes and rest players. And just for that, Mark, it even baffled me, given I know Danny Ings is in the form of the life, he's probably in the fitness of his life as well.
Yep.
But given his past injuries,
Yep.
it baffled me that he wasn't one of the players that was considered to be rested.
Well, I think that just proves how key he is to the team, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully he wasn't rested because he ended up scoring the equaliser. But
Not a bad goal either.
no, exactly. But all I would say was Brighton deserved to go in front.
Yep.
In fact, they probably should have been 2 or 3 up at half time for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But and we just looked lackluster. We looked unfamiliar of ourselves because obviously you had people. I mean, yes, Højbjerg's played there before. Yes, he's proficient. It isn't his natural position.
No.
We were back to the bad old days of earlier in the season where he was tinkering with everybody's position. It was round pegs and square holes.
Yep.
And with that, you've got to say in the first half they looked disjointed. Thankfully, in the second half, different story.
Yeah.
Raft the changes. On comes the Walker Peters. On comes Bertram. On comes one or two others. Right, and all of a sudden, people are playing in their natural positions.
Yep.
And it was. While I wouldn't say it was a completely different game because people get caught cold even if you're coming in as a second half substitute, it was a lot better than what it was in the first half. A lot better.
Well, for me, 4 things in the first half. So, 5 things in the first half. 5 changes, too many. Okay.
Yeah.
But the 4 things that we lost in the first half of that formation, we lost cohesion, we lost fluidity, we lost intensity, and we lost momentum. So we lost the momentum we've built up. We lost the cohesion we've had as a team. We lost the fluidity we've had as a team. And we lost the intensity. Second half, it all came back. Not as well as it has done against Man City and some of the other teams, but second half, more intensity, more fluidity, more cohesion, and more momentum. And I thought that was a different second half. First half,
that was down to players playing in their natural positions as well.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I noticed, and I don't like to pull anybody out particularly, but one of the things that I did notice was, people like the kind of, especially at home, people tend to like to accuse Oriol Romeu of being slow to play the ball and release the ball, right?
Yep.
But one of our own academy players was the worst culprit of it on Thursday night. And that was Will Smallbone. He was basically at walking pace with the ball.
Absolutely.
And I remember, because again, we did the watch along, and I remember turning around and saying to you, Will Smallbone's number 27, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because he every time he got the ball, he was just slowing down the walking pace.
Absolutely.
You're sitting there thinking, like you used the word, no intensity.
Yeah.
No quick passing going on. Yeah. It was all very, and then second half. I don't know whether it was because people were in their familiar positions, but all of a sudden, second half, at least there was some sense of urgency.
Well, the weird thing was, first half it was almost go backwards, go backwards, go backwards, go backwards, go backwards. Second half it was don't go backwards, knock it forward.
Yeah.
Knock it forward, knock it early. And I was sat there scratching my head thinking, well, where was that in the first half? Why did you suddenly start doing it in the second half? You're now trailing. It was a strange one for me. Very strange one.
Thankfully, Mark, what I would say is he realised his mistake.
Yeah.
He made the changes at half-time, and all of a sudden it became a different proposition.
Absolutely. And what I would say is, well, setting off, Yannick Vestergaard hit an absolute exocet of a shot. Matt Ryan, take a bow, son, because I tell you something now, that is one of the saves of the season. That was absolutely outrageous that he got to that. That looked like it was a goal all ends up. Vestergaard caught hold of that and he caught it sweet. And to be fair, I thought that was an outstanding save from Matt Ryan. A little bit of luck, obviously, but what a save that was. He had no right to even make that. It's crazy.
True. I mean, to be fair, I was reading a little article with Matt Ryan, and the headline basically was, well, the headline sort of from the story, if you like, was kind of, he just turned around and he said, you know, I'll never forget that save that I made on Thursday night. I'll never forget it as long as I live, he said.
But for me, I watched the replay of it as well, and for me, I thought, yeah, they probably had a headline in the Argus, which probably said "Flying Ryan" or something like that. Because he was, to be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair to Yannick as well, if that had gone in, I hate to say it, I think that probably would have eclipsed that one that Kuko scored against Arsenal, because it was definitely on a par with that, if not better, to be fair. There's some pace on it, some swerve on it.
If it had went in, would you have given it goal of the season?
I think it would have been a contender, wouldn't it?
Because we've had a few crackers.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's not forget, Shea Adams scored his first goal for the club. That's right up there, isn't it? The way he took that. That was a fantastic goal. Danny Ings has had a few corkers. Nathan Redmond's had a couple. Yes, Nathan Redmond did score a couple this season, people, in case you forgot. He did put a couple of stonkers in the top corner. And Gineppo's not far off with a couple of shots. And Stuart Armstrong as well. So we've had a few absolute corkers, haven't we, to be fair?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that certainly would have been amongst them. I think it's hard to pick one out, but yeah, there's definitely a few up there.
So what were the match reactions afterwards, Mark?
Quite interesting. A bit of a mixed bag. Obviously, Hasenhüttl basically saying Ings was on fire. Vokins was buzzing to get the opportunity to obviously make his Premier League debut. Yeah, he'd been looking forward to it. I thought he acquitted himself quite well. Yeah, I mean, Ralph obviously quite happy with the way Danny Ings was playing. Obviously, Danny Ings managing to stop Brighton from celebrating immediately the fact they'd obviously survived. But Ings predicted it would be his most exciting season when he joined, and it certainly has been.
Yeah.
Progress he's made in this year is amazing, said Hasenhüttl off the game. He's fit, works hard, wins the ball so many times, definitely a striker who deserves goals. Saints may lose Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, however, news broke during the match at Everton, don't even talk to him, blah, blah, we're not really bothered about that. Graham Potter basically saying we found resilience away from home and all credit to the players. Our defensive effort was fantastic. Can't really argue that. Their man and match, Lewis Dunk. Looking at the stats from the game, 68% possession for Saints, 32 for Brighton, 21 shots from Saints, 10 from Brighton, 6 on target for Saints, 2 for Brighton, 8 corners. Half-time was an absolute disaster. A corner, Ralphie said at half-time it was a disaster. We're not the team you've seen the last few weeks in the first half. We played much quicker, made the right decisions. It was a good game in the second half. We made a few changes, maybe too many. Can't argue with that. It definitely was too many.
Yeah.
But what can you do? We didn't find the right tools in the first half. It was very intensive rebuild at half-time. Yeah, you know what I mean? He almost wiped the slate clean at half-time, didn't he? And Graham Potter said, every point's hard earned in the Premier League. We've got 2 more games to get some more. That was an important point. Matt Ryan wasn't happy about his performance in Man City. Well, if he wasn't happy about his performance against Man City, I think he redeemed himself in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And he said, Saints are much better in the second half and pushed us back. We had to defend with our lives and make blocks. Yeah, so, I can argue that.
Mark, what I want to ask you is, how did you view Pierre Højbjerg's contribution on Thursday?
Sorry, who?
Mr. Højbjerg. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, the player that we don't really miss at the moment, who's apparently off to wherever he's going. Yeah, see you later, Pierre. Hope the door doesn't hit you on the way out. Was it one of his best games? I don't think so. Has he been at the races since the restart? No, I think his head's been completely elsewhere.
All I would say is he was in an unfamiliar position in the first half, and I think it's unfair to judge him on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, in the second half, he moved in the central midfield, right? And was it Pierre that remind me? Was it Pierre that made that pass under absolutely no pressure whatsoever from anybody, straight to a Brighton player? Yeah. Oh. But all I would say, Mark, is he had a few shots which I thought were speculative at best, and I just thought to myself, is your head obviously is elsewhere because it's not on the job in the hand. I have to be honest, given that the club have stated, and people from the club have stated how professional Pierre is and that he gives you 110% every game, well, I'm sorry, since the restart he hasn't. His head's been elsewhere. He's not been given 110. It's like when Virgil was leaving Saints. He played at probably 70% capacity for the last few games he played for us, and Pierre's done exactly the same since the restart. He's not played at full capacity. He's played at about 60, 70%, not even 70%. I'd say about 60% of what he's capable of, and he's been poor. Well, anyway, it's quite clear his head's been elsewhere. we're going to be coming on to him again probably later in the show anyway. So, So apart from that, does that conclude your review and we'll move on to Bournemouth?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think in summary for me, 4 things from the Brighton game: lack of intensity, fluidity, cohesion, and momentum in the first half. Better second half. Move on to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, Saints obviously running out 2-0 winners against Bournemouth. This is one of those games I think I'd said to you that I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I think we both thought this could be a potential slip up from Saints. And it did look as though it was going to go that way a little bit, didn't it? I mean, Saints started quite brightly, but it started to look as though Bournemouth were going to get into the game, and it looked as though they might nick something, didn't it? And then obviously up pops that man again.
It was a bitsy game, Mark. I think at half time we're all sort of sat, we're all sort of sat there at half time and we're kind of thinking, well, Bournemouth can't be as bad in the first half. We're going to have to be on our mettle. We created a few chances as well. You got to say that James Ward-Prowse shot, or no, James Ward-Prowse header, sorry, not shot. On its day, that could have went in the back of the net.
Yeah, you can't help thinking if there'd been a striker on the end of it probably would have done.
Yeah. And one or two other things, and you sort of sit there and you think, well, Danny Ings, penalty as well. I know that was after we'd gone 1-0 up, but and I've checked this, by the way. He actually took his penalty for Saints last season.
Yep.
Right? Don't know who it was against, and I promise I'll look it up for the next show, so as you know. But, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I think we need to get Matt Lattez and Ricky probably out in the training ground.
Yep.
Show a couple of the players how it's done.
Failing that, I'd get a certain gentleman who's back down in Southampton now, who happens to be a first-team coach at Birmingham, who never missed a penalty in a Saints shirt. I'd be tempted to get old Beats down there, I think, as well, Mark.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. It is. I mean, it's small beer at the minute because we're coming to the end of the season. Everything's all right, but certainly going into next season, you want to be settled on a penalty taker. But personally, I don't think anybody. I mean, is anybody stepping up and really wanting the responsibility to take?
The thing is, what I'm staggered by with this penalty from Danny Ings, Mark, is right, and it was a poor penalty. What I'm staggered by is right now. He had the opportunity here. This penalty could have moved him within 1 goal of the league's top scorer, okay? Which probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but to Danny Ings, it's probably quite important. So he could have gone within 1 goal of Jamie Vardy, okay? Steps up and hits one of the worst penalties I've seen. And for a man who's in such form and so clinical, it was awful.
I know. It was
and he could have moved within a goal of the leading scorer in the league as well. Even more kind of, what were you doing? And then you look at the likes of Lambert and Letizia used to take penalties and beat you as well. And they used to just put their foot through the ball.
It was a poor penalty. I want to go back to the game for a minute, Mark. Yeah. All I want to say is this. I actually thought both fullbacks, so Kyle Walker-Peters and Ryan Bertram again, had good games. Because the thing is they managed to stem the flow of Brooks down that side and Junior Stanislas, right? And I just tend to think if Bournemouth had probably got the ball out to the wings more, and those our two fullbacks sort of stemmed any sort of flow that was coming through there. Hence, if you remember, when Vestergaard had fouled Callum Wilson was going on about playing the ball over the top. But the thing was it was so on Bournemouth-like, because normally you wouldn't associate them with long ball.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that Burnley are long ball, right? No. All I'm saying is Burnley adapt their game to the situation.
Well, it was strange because Bournemouth actually played us in a way that they've not played this season, and I didn't understand that.
Yeah, well,
it's like people say, if it's not fixed, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Why would you change a formula that worked fairly well for them?
The point that I was going to go and make there was, I'm just saying, like a club like Burnley, they're used to adapting their style, whereas why was Bournemouth trying to avert or convert to a style that they weren't used to all season, basically. And obviously, the instruction looked like hit it long or hit it over the top of Vestergaard. Mind you, I don't know how you're meant to hit it over the top of Vestergaard, like. But there you go. But, it was. I just thought it was a strange situation, mate. To be fair.
Yeah, regardless of fullbacks, two things like Kyle Walker-Peters at one point, ball coming into the penalty area, he's facing his own goal, and he actually clears it away. No danger of it going in the back of the net. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Fantastic bit of defending. Also, Ryan Bertrand. Ryan Bertrand has the foresight to win the ball high up the pitch, looks up, feeds it to Obafemi, I believe it was, who then fed Ings in to score. And I tell you something now, for all those people who criticise Ryan Bertrand and think he's not the player he was and he's a bit slow, watch the replay of how he wins that ball and the vision he's got to give it to Obafemi to set Ings up. Fantastic. But both of them, Mark, I absolutely agree with you. Bertrand and Walker-Peters, outstanding. Walker-Peters had a bit of a flutter against Man City, right back on his mojo. 100%.
Yeah.
Him and Bertrand, fantastic, both of them.
Yeah. But what was I going to say? So the other thing that I just want to mention was, as you said, both Ings goals in both games were very well taken. But obviously, I want to give a special mention to Che Adams scoring again. Yeah, and again, his was probably the standout goal. The irony of that goal wasn't lost on me in the fact that, Bournemouth thought that equalised and then straight more or less from the kick-off, or not the kick-off, but from the goalkeeper, would go down the other end and score the second. But, again, really pleased for Shea that, he's got a second goal now. And I dare say he's looking forward to, next season now with renewed optimism. And I just think if those two can click together, that could be a great partnership that would turn out for us.
Yeah, interestingly as well, Danny Ings has scored in 19 different Premier League games this season, the most by any Saints player in a single season in the competition, overtaking James Beattie's 18 in 2002-03. He's equalled Matt Le Tissier's record of away goals in the Premier League, 12. He's equalled that. And Che Adams' strike for Southampton in 97th minute and 56 seconds was the latest Premier League goal since November 2011, when another South Coast striker scored, and that was Yakubu against Wigan for Blackburn. And that was 98 minutes and 14 seconds. So that was almost the latest goal ever in the Premier League. So we very nearly ended up with the fastest goal ever in the Premier League from Shane Long, and the latest ever was Che Adams. So that would have been quite a feat, wouldn't it? So I found that quite interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very interesting. For me, on balance of play, Saints probably deserve the result on balance. Bournemouth will probably feel quite hard done by. And in fairness, watching back when the VAR decision went against Bournemouth, it looked like right at that moment their manager and the players' hearts were broken, weren't they?
We were good at, all I would say is we were good enough value for the 3 points.
Yeah.
Probably 1-0 would have been the fair result. We were the better side for me. You might argue I'm going to say that anyway, but we were the better side on the day. I did think the 2-0 scoreline flattered us a wee bit, but I do think it would have been harsh on us if the equaliser, if Bournemouth had scored the equaliser. I didn't think that on the balance of play they deserved, an equaliser. But as I say, 2-0 victory, we march on. Ralph's got a chance now of breaking that 50 points mark, which I desperately want them to do. Because, as I say, it would put a marker down for me in regards to, because I've always maintained that the last 3 managers we've had since him weren't great. I'll always be thankful to Hughes for bringing Danny Ings to the football club. But having said that, it wasn't a successful time. And I think if Ralph manages to break the 50 points, it might be a psychological barrier going into next season. And it'll give me renewed optimism for next season, Mark. I think I've got it at the minute, but I kind of think Sheffield United have had a good season.
Yeah.
You know, but I kind of think they've gone a little bit off the boil. I think a lot of it was down to, you know, the Aston Villa debacle, you know, when they scored but they didn't score. But you know, I'll come on to that during our quick preview of that game. But all I would say is it's a great chance for us to break that 50-point barrier and Ralph get greater recognition for what he's done since he's come to the club.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, Ralph was obviously delighted to grind out yet another victory on the road against Bournemouth, taking the away win Sunday to 9th for the season. Club record, obviously, fantastic. I mean, admitted the 3 points didn't come easy with Saints riding their luck at times and needing a helping hand from VAR. Wow, you know, the decision was right. He was offside, so, you know, not much happy around, really. It's a goal that shouldn't have stood and it didn't.
Yeah.
Good one. Shay Adams, good for Shay Adams. He's pleased to be repaying the face shown him after netting the second in the win. He said that's what scoring for you does as a striker. You get the confidence it boosts you generally. So, yeah, I mean, it's fair to say that the manager's had faith in him, players have had faith in him, and he's rewarded it, hasn't he? And it's good to see him scoring now. And that's 2 or 3 games, I believe.
You could see, and I love watching now when he scores because you can see the joy on the rest of the players' faces.
Absolutely.
And again, it goes back to what I was talking about last week when I was talking about unity on and off the pitch. And the players have certainly got unity on the pitch, that's for sure. Yeah, and that helps. You know, it helps with things.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I can't argue that at all. No, definitely can't argue that. So, on the balance play, yeah, I thought Saints probably deserved it on the balance play. Bournemouth will feel quite hard done by. I thought it was quite savage they conceded so late in the game. But that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? That is football. We move on from there. Bournemouth, sadly, looks as though the writing's on the wall for them. They might escape by the skin of their teeth, but it looks unlikely. We'll see what happens. Villa's result tonight obviously won't have helped that. And you wonder what sort of mental state they'll be in come Sunday. But we'll see. But from Saints' point of view, couldn't do any more than get the 3 points, could you?
No, definitely not.
Another 3 points. We move up to 11th. Fantastic. And it'd be great if we can break the 50 points, as you say. So that's it for me on that one. Anything more to add?
Thank you. And me.
Okay, so moving on. We'll take a break now. And when we come back from that little break, we're going to be doing Saints News Links.
The Two Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday, 12 till 2 for informative football chat and great tunes.
Right, good to have you all back. Welcome back. So, moving on, Saints News Links. Ralph Hasenhüttl will explain Saints' hard work is paying off. Ralph welcomes the possibility of fans returning in October. Shay Adams hopes to see Saints continue their impressive run into the 2020-21 campaign. Ralph Hasenhüttl addresses Bertrand's expiring contract. Pierre will not leave cheaply, says Ralph. Hasenhüttl challenges his side to surpass 50 points. 2020-21 training kit available. 2020-21 kit is available in store next week. That's the big news. So going back to the first part of that, Ralph Hasenhüttl saying that the hard work is paying off. I would certainly agree with that, Mark. We both commented on the fitness the players seem to have. They seem to have looked after themselves during lockdown. And the hard work that Ralph's been putting in on the training ground is clearly showing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I've actually thought that maybe what we could do over a season, Mark, is would have an intense 10 games and then a break for a few weeks and then have another intense 10 games and break the season up that way. And maybe Saints would go shooting up the table more, you know. But I think, in all seriousness, though, I think basically a lot of it comes back to what Alex Gross has done with the first team and their tailor-made sort of fitness programs that they've had to maintain during the lockdown. You know, like I said, you know, players have had to weigh in every day and stuff like that there to make sure that they're staying, you know, in trim, I suppose, and eating the right things, you know. But as I say, I think a lot of credit has to go to him because the players obviously maintain their not even just maintain their fitness. I mean, I think Danny Ings has come back even fitter than when lockdown was introduced. So
it's interesting as well.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's interesting as well that Ralph's put it down to the fact the Saints have been running their opponents, and the only game that actually didn't outrun anyone was the Arsenal game. And look at what the result was. And he's actually saying positive running, which is putting the press on early and positive running, means you don't have to do any negative running, i.e., you spend less time running back towards your own goal. And I think he's absolutely right on that one.
Yeah, it's the coverage, and it's the pressing, the high intensity up the pitch, and to be able to do that, you have to be physically fit. You probably have to be at a peak. So, as I say, when lockdown came and Alex obviously set up the programs for them all to be ready and raring to go, obviously that helped, having those set training programs for each individual and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it definitely shows in the performance. It shows in the performance as individuals and as a team, in the sense that, the way we play, it is high intensity, it is high octane, and it's pressing the ball further up the pitch, and the coverage, the amount of running that they're doing and the stats and stuff like that, it shows that, at the end of the day, probably if the season had continued, you would have been talking about a team that would have been comfortably in the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Right, I think we'll move on to the next article as well, which is Ralph Hasenhüttl welcomes the possibility of fans returning in October. So obviously Boris Johnson's revealed crowds could return to Sports Stadium from October. That means subject to a run of successful pilot events, football fans will be able to attend matches. He obviously said from 1st of August we'll restart indoor performance to live audiences. From October we intend to bring back audiences to the stadia. These changes must be done in a COVID-secure way, obviously. But Ralph Hasenhüttl welcomed the news, saying it's fantastic, we'd like to see him back and we can show them good performances and we'd like to celebrate again with the fans. It'd be a big message for everybody because this is a step back to normality. Even if it's only half the crowd that's coming back or something like that, I don't know what they decide. But we find that people are now sensibilised for what happens around you and there are ways to do it, and if you can do it, why not? Part of me feels, following discussions we've had, that it is a little bit early, but if it can be proven that they can do it in a safe way, then I guess you can't really argue with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be honest, any fans going back into the stadium, it's going to be controlled, Mark, and it is going to be a case of, watching different things and stuff like that. But, I've got to say that it is, football sort of sanitized when you don't have the crowd there. I mean, there's probably going to be restrictions on things like being able to chant and stuff like that there, but at least you'll be able to clap and support your team, even if it's just seeing fans. I mean, for me, it's just even about maybe at this stage seeing fans in the stadium.
I think as long as you're not clapping the hand of the person sat next to you, you'll be fine, won't you?
Yeah, I mean, very much so. But like I say, it's I mean, I understand from Ralph's point of view. I understand from the team's point of view. At the end of the day, they'd much rather have fans in the stadium, and I think us as supporters, we'd much rather see fans
as well. I was wondering how they're going to work it with disabled fans. And I think about this, and what I thought was, disabled fans in wheelchair spaces that are pitch side, it's probably harder to police that. It's probably harder to distance those fans, as opposed to the fans that actually sit in the raised viewing platforms. To be fair, it's probably easier to integrate those disabled fans into the stadium because they're kind of apart, about a metre or so apart already, aren't they? Because of the layout of the seats in that area. So for people who are going with one carer as a disabled fan in a raised viewing area, those disabled fans are probably going to be allowed back in, purely and simply based on the fact you can keep those fans apart. Whereas obviously wheelchair spaces at pitch level, very difficult to keep that distance because there isn't really that space apart. There isn't really that gap between them. And also other ambulant disabled fans, obviously those that could be classed as at high risk, it'd be difficult for them to attend, won't it? So it'd be interesting to see how the club actually go about, or clubs as a whole go about bringing fans back in, because it certainly won't be to full capacity for quite some time.
Well, I mean, even on the flip side of that, there, if we're just looking at the fans themselves, I mean, let's be honest, it's going to be staggered, it's going to be controlled. Initially, I'd be very surprised if you're talking about more than 5,000. My personal opinion is they would probably start off with around 3,000 to 4,000.
From clubs' points of view, all of the clubs across the Premier League, one of the issues you're going to have is you can't be seen to be discriminating. So the difficulty is you're going to be wanting to offer disabled fans to come back in, but part of the club's philosophy is also going to be, well, we don't really want to invite disabled fans back in yet because they're classed as a high risk group. So the issue for clubs is going to be, when the disabled fans coming back in, because that's going to be part of it. But you don't want to be seen to be discriminating by saying to them, well, you can't come back in yet. So I think that's going to be difficult, definitely. And again, it's also going to be difficult from the point of view of how the club's going to decide who they're going to bring back in first.
Well, I mean, Mark, I think it's fair to say that there will be some sort of lottery on it. Yeah. There might even be some sort of postcode lottery on it. But I mean, let's hope at the end of the day that whatever way they decide to do it, it's done in a sensible, structured way. Absolutely. I mean, personally, I think it should be that, and I don't mean this in a discriminatory way, but it should be fit and healthy people in through the doors first, and then the more vulnerable to follow afterwards. But like I said there, initially it'll be 3,000 to 5,000 people, and then I think it'll be staggered. We'll build up from that point.
I think probably right. All right, well, we'll move on to our next topic, which is Shay Adams hopes to see Saints continue impressive run into 2020-21 campaign. So we'll just do a quick review on this one. He's basically said he wants to see their impressive form continue into next season. St Mary's side went 6 Premier League games without defeat on Sunday after beating Bournemouth. He was on target at the Vitality Stadium, desperate to see the club go. The club's recent run of results not come to a grinding halt. I think it's all clicked at the end. You can all see how we die for each other on the pitch. We're about getting 3 points, and to do that, you need to work hard, and we're a hard-working team. Long may it continue. So the campaign will come to the 2019-20 season will come to its delayed end at home to Sheffield United on Sunday. So let's hope we get the 3 points. If we manage to break that 50-point barrier, it'd be great. Totally agree with him. It'd be fantastic to see that form continue into the 2020-21 campaign, which I'm kind of looking forward to now. I was looking forward to it with a bit of trepidation, given Saints' performances earlier in the season. But certainly a little bit more optimism now. And I think if we can have a good summer on and off the pitch, we'll be looking in good shape, hopefully.
Yeah, I'd go along with that, man. I mean, all I would say is, for Shay Adams personally, I think it's sad that the season sort of ended for him, because started to come into a bit of form, and then, there is going to be a little bit of a break. It won't be much of a break for the players. There is going to be a quick turnaround. Effectively, I would have thought maybe 2 weeks holiday, and then they're straight back at it again, straight into sort of training, pre-season, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Shay, if you're listening in, there's a few local teams, so you could get a bit of football in with them if you want. No, don't do that. You might get injured, Ralph, and never forgive us. Right. So, I think we'll move on from that. I think we've covered that. There's no need to go into that in too much detail, to be fair. I think it's a fair assessment what he said, and I think we're all looking for that, to be fair. So, moving on to the next topic, Ralph Hasenhüttl addresses the Ryan Bertrand expiring contract situation. He's actually said he absolutely has the potential to get back into the England fold. He's playing really well at the moment, so he's got the potential to get back into the England fold, and we'll help him come to that position. As always, we have to see he's not the youngest player, and we know the older players have to wait to extend their contracts like they did with Shane Long. It must be a good mixture in the team, and a little bit of experience is absolutely necessary, especially when you have an experienced player who's open-minded and willing to learn. Ryan showed he's a perfect example of how quickly you can adapt to this and learn new things. He has enough space for new things, and I'm not surprised that an older player can learn this. I think he likes the way we play, being brave and showing we can compete with the big teams. What I did find interesting, though, was further down the article. It actually says, I think he has a big knowledge about football. He's a lot of experience from his entire career, and he's smart. But for me, in the moment, it's more important that he concentrates on his real job, which is being good on the pitch. He was always very critical with what happens around him, and not so easy to convince this guy. If you have him on your side and see he sticks to your plan and he's convinced about what you're doing, then he's an absolute positive boost for everything. Now, I found that a bit interesting.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is it's easy to sell something to somebody when things are going well. It's a lot more difficult to sell your philosophy and ideas whenever things aren't going so well and you're not winning games of football. And for any player, I can sort of understand that thought process or that mentality, because obviously, if things aren't going that clever on the pitch, then you're going to have your doubts about what's happening in training and stuff like that. But Mark, I don't really want to talk about that. I just want to say, I've said it on the show and on our podcast before. I'm sorry, but comparing the Shane Long contract situation to the Ryan Bertram situation, it's not the same thing. You're talking about a player that's still relevant that plays week in, week out in the first team for you, right? Going in the next season, as I see it now, Shane will probably be coming on last half hour of a game. When the game's strung out, we'll be looking to try and play him inside. But, I do wonder. I still think he's relevant. He may start more games than I'm assuming at the moment. But you would have thought that going in the next season, he's going to start with Shea Adams. So all I'll say to you is I'll reiterate my point of view. There's a host of players next season from the first team squad that are out of contract. There's only 2 players that I would offer contracts to. One is Oriol Romeu and the other one's Ryan Bertram. And I think the longer that Saints leave it with Ryan Bertram, the more likelihood there is that someone else is going to come in and offer him a contract.
My take on it is very simple. Yeah, he may be one of the more senior players, but you've got younger players at the club. None of them look capable of left back on a regular basis at the moment. Ryan Bertrand, for me, sign the guy up, get him signed, because I tell you something now, if you lose Ryan Bertrand and you have to pay out for another left back, it ain't going to be cheap. Left backs are notoriously expensive. Don't know why, but they are. Right backs seem to be a bit cheaper, to be fair. Ryan Bertrand, for me, sign him, no question. Should have given him a contract already, because as you say, the longer you leave it, the more chance he goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
And Ryan Bertrand, given the way that Ryan can get sometimes, I wouldn't be surprised if he dug his heels in all of a sudden and went, you've left it so long now, I don't want to sign a contract. And that would be an absolute disaster.
It may be that they've reached a verbal agreement, Mark, right, where he's agreed to leave it till the end of next season. Absolutely. But all I'm saying to you is, as you know, come January, right? Come January when the window opens, okay, he's eligible then to talk to any club. He's eligible to talk to any club that he wants to talk to. Yeah. So there is always that danger. The longer you leave it, the more chance there is that someone could come in with a better offer. But let's hope he's reached an agreement with the club where he's willing to accommodate and just wait for them to offer a contract at the end of the season. Yeah. But if it was me personally, out of the ones that contracts are up next season, I'd give him and Romeu a new contract.
So, moving on, Ralph Hasenhüttl reiterate that Saints will not sell Pierre-Emile Højbjerg on the cheap as Everton and Tottenham are a summer sweep. Now, there are contrasting reports. There are reports saying that Saints have agreed a $25 million fee with Everton, that he's agreed personal terms, etc., etc. There's another report I've just been notified of that apparently Everton's valuation is about $14 million, and that they haven't actually lodged a $25 million bid. So
I don't want to get into this too much.
No, we're not getting to that yet, but I'm just saying, Ralph's saying he won't be going on the cheap, but there are contrasting reports at the moment. We're led to believe Saints want $35 million. Are they going to get that? I don't know. But Ralph reckons he's not going to go cheap. So, over to you.
Yeah, all I would say is he's just reiterating the fact that the club are not prepared to undersell him. And I get that. Don't always agree with us lowballing clubs, It's all right to turn around and say we want top dollar, and then we go and lowball clubs. But let's hope at the end of the day that we're basically gonna stick to our guns to a degree. I mean, like I said, I don't think we'll get anywhere near £35 million. I think it's going to be around 25 million. And I don't want to go into the transfer bit too much because we'll cover that later in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to the next one. Ralph Hasenhüttl turning Saints to surpass the 50-point mark. The current title means that they managed to better ex-boss Claude Puel's tally of 46 back in 2016-17. Ralph wants them to take their total above 50 with a win against Sheffield United on Sunday. There are still 3 more to get, so let us get those because 50 points is the target now. It's amazing, especially when you see where we were coming from in October. Can't argue with that. And
100%,
it would be great.
mate. It's psychological as well, man. If we break the 50-point barrier, it makes a mockery mark, right? I mean, just taking you back to the Puel season, right? I mean, okay, yep, Claude got us the cup final. He destroyed our European adventure, but he got us the cup final. And he did give me my happiest or my proudest moment. When we beat Liverpool in the semi-final because I was there. But having said all that, 46 points and you finish 8th.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I want to see Ralph break the 50-point barrier.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think 46 points to finish 8th in the Premier League is a mockery. We're going to be hopefully finishing on 42 points, or 52 points.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're going to be finishing on that benchmark. Yeah. And that's only going to be good enough maybe for 11th place.
That's right. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Well, I think we'll move on to the next topic on that one then. So the next topic relates to the 2020-21 training kit is now available, which is fantastic. The only issue for me, the pre-match shirt is absolutely horrific.
Can I just warn people here at this point that Mark is going to go into overdrive here because I have never seen a more despondent man when we spoke about this during the week.
The actual training kit itself is okay, but the pre-match shirt that they've released is absolutely horrific. It literally looks like something somebody has thrown up outside the pub on a Saturday night. It's horrific. I don't know who designed it. I don't know what they were thinking, and I can't believe anyone approved it. It is horrific. You will not see me wearing that shirt. It's horrible. That sort of designer shirt belongs on a golf course, and not one of the top golf courses either. It's horrific. Hate the pre-match shirt. The training kit itself, pretty plain, but to be fair, it's all right. But the actual pre-match shirt, horrible. You will not see me paying for that, and you certainly won't see me wearing that. It's horrible. Hate it. And no colour scheme within that shirt that's even remotely connected to Saints FC in any way.
Right. Have you finished?
Yeah, run over.
Okay. So here's my take on it. When I went to preschool, right, we used to be given paints, right, and you put the paints on your hands. This was one of your very first painting lessons. So you put the paints on your hands, right, and you put handprints on white paper, right. Or failing that, the other thing they used to do was to put paint on our boots. Right, and we would stand on the white paper and put imprints of our boots on the white paper. Well, when I seen this pre-match shirt or whatever it is, and I just thought to myself, I could have done better than that when I was 6. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, each to their own. We might be proved wrong, mate. It might go flying out the door.
Yeah, well,
but I agree with you about the rest of it. The rest of it's all pretty plain. It's just really, really functional. The thing is though, what disappoints me with the training gear and has done now for a number of seasons under Under Armour, it's one of the reasons I think why I don't like Under Armour, because everything's just, in terms of the training stuff, everything's just plain. It's fairly boring. Where you sort of sit there and you think, come on, some of the bigger clubs, let's say, you can see with the people that are manufacturing their training kit that they've shown a little bit of design imagination, whereas ours always just looks bog standard, to be fair.
Well, I think we'll move on from the training kit as well, because I certainly agree with that. Something that isn't bulk standard is the kit that has been released for 2020-21. So this is the new home kit and third kit, which is a 135th anniversary kit. And part of me can't help thinking, Mark, it's an okay kit. It looks quite nice. No, I'm not disappointed by it. It's okay. I quite like it. To be fair, I probably will be getting. Well, I will be getting one. There's no doubt on that one. It's okay. For me, I think they've made it 135th anniversary kit to placate the fans, because there will be a few fans who don't like the old sash. But yeah, it's a strange one that have done 135th anniversary. I've heard of 125, 150. 200, 135, bit of a strange one. But the good news is for everyone, the official 2020-21 kit will be available to purchase in person at the Westkey store from 10 a.m. on Monday, 20th of July. And those that have pre-ordered, good news for you as well. So those that have pre-ordered the kit by Wednesday, the 22nd of July, will have their order dispatched on the 24th of July, 3 weeks earlier than promised. And I'm also led to believe from my esteemed colleague that there's even more good news. Over to you, Mark.
There is even more good news.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier that apparently we're getting the kit before anyone else as well.
Yes.
Unlike last year.
All I was going to say was obviously the kit goes on sale on Monday.
Yep.
And that'll be before any of the pre-order and stuff get their hands on the kit. The other thing that I was mentioning to you before was I think there's a good chance that we may see the kit on the players for the first time in many a season, because normally in recent years you wouldn't have seen the kit, before they go into pre-season. Before you to go into pre-season, many years before that, they always used to wear the new kit on the last game of the season. So hopefully there's an opportunity, because I've seen during some of the lockdown matches that some of the Premier League clubs have already started wearing their new tops for next season. So hopefully there's a chance on Sunday of us actually seeing the players in the new kit.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, I think that rounds up that section of the show quite nicely. So we've come to the end of that section of the show. We're going to take a break now. And when we come back, we'll be doing other football news.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Right, there we go. We're back suitably refreshed. So moving on now, other football news. Premier League and EFL summer transfer window to be from the 27th of July to the 5th of October. FIFA World Cup 2022, 4 games a day to be played in group stage in Qatar. The FIFA World Cup 2022, 4 games a day to be played in the group stages in Qatar. And we've actually worked out what the actual times are going to be for these kickoffs, haven't we, Mark?
Yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry, yep. I will just give you a quick rundown. So effectively, you're going to have games at UK times at 10, 1 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon, and 7 in the afternoon. So basically, it's going to be a feast of football for 12 days, in 2022. And the other beauty of it is Qatar is only roughly the same size as Yorkshire.
Yep.
So effectively you can do 2 games in a day. You can have tickets. You'd have tickets for, say, the game at 10 o'clock or tickets for the game at 1 o'clock, and then go to the game, say, if you got tickets for the game at 10 o'clock, you can go to the game, say, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because you're not travelling that much of a distance. So, I mean, it's the first, I think occasionally obviously you have 4 games in the group stages, when they're doing the final round robin games, because obviously everybody has to kick off at the same time in the groups and stuff. But it's the first time that you're having 4 games over such a sustained period of 12 days, so it's going to be exciting, mate. Looking forward to it very much, I'll be in football heaven.
You will. Like you say, it's you won't have to travel far because all of the group games are within a 40-mile radius of each other.
Yeah.
Great. So the kickoff times are going to be 10 a.m. GMT, 1 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. GMT, and 7 p.m. GMT. And for those of you that aren't aware what GMT is, that is Greenwich Mean Time. So that's UK time. There we go. We're going to take another break. And when we come back from that, it'll be Saints transfer news time.
The Two Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday 12 till 2 for informative football chat and great tunes.
Right, welcome back everybody. Saints transfer news links. Work permit rules Salisu must pass to complete Southampton transfer. Report says centre-back still a priority for Southampton after Salisu move gets done. Southampton leading Newcastle for 13 million signing, West Ham also keen. Leicester can sign Target for 15 million 6 months after 26 million deal failed. Southampton hoping to steal 10 million Walker Peters deal from Spurs ahead of rivals. I really hope manager praying that 9 million star doesn't join Tottenham or Southampton. I want to go to Germany. Saints target opting against St Mary's move after advanced contacts in April. Everton come back in with another offer for Pierre Højbjerg. Tottenham be told to increase their Højbjerg bid or forget about their summer deal. Very fast and strong. Reported 18 million Southampton target compared to Edinson Cavani. Fulham Lone Star attracting Premier League transfer interest. This is Harrison Reed. And Leeds United news. Angus Gunn mentioned to Phil Hay. So right back to the start of that and beginning with, and this relates to obviously centre halves, and we're led to believe that it looks as though a deal is imminent with Saints for Mohamed Salisu pending on a work permit, Mark.
Yeah, I mean,
position really strengthening, and he looks a beast, to be fair, and let's hope he is.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is, you and I both know that we're led to believe that the agreed fee is £10.9 million.
Yeah,
and he signed a 4-year deal, allegedly on 35 grand a week.
Yeah.
The only thing, obviously, is the work permit. My belief would be, Mark, that initially he probably get turned down on the grounds that he hasn't actually played for Ghana, which I have to admit, it's a bit concerning that he hasn't played for Ghana yet.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doubting his capabilities, but you would have even thought, I know he's only 21, but you would have thought maybe he would have played for Ghana by now after the season he's had in Spain. So
yeah, you'd be thinking under 21, under 23s or whatever. Well, you would have thought previously it would have been under 23s or whatever previous to whatever. And, you know, at the stage of that now, you'd think, yeah, he'd be playing for Ghana and probably Wrigley, I would have thought. So, So it seems like it's just a work permit on that. His release clause was 10.9 million. He does look a bit of a unit, and he does look as though he could play a little bit. So he could well prove to be a good deal for that sort of money.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say about that as well is, even if they don't initially get the work permit, I think if they appeal it, they probably will get the work permit because of the games he has played in Spain this season. So initially they'll look at your international sort of situation, and then if that doesn't tally in the sense of he hasn't, represented his country, then they'll look at what he did domestically last season, and that should carry favour. So the club should get a work permit on appeal.
Yep, I would think so. So moving on from that as well, the next story is quite interesting. So Saints are expected to sign another centre-back once a deal for Real Valladolid defender Mohamed Salisu done and dusted, according to Sky Sports. With that brilliant backs against the wall victory against Pep Guardiola's Man City still fresh in the memory, you'd think that Ralph Hasenhüttl would be prioritising additions at the other end. But even after Jack Stevens and Jan Bednarek masterfully malfunctioned the Premier League's most fearsome goal-scoring machine, it seems the new defenders are still top of the Saints' summer wish list. I've got to be honest, I can't really argue with that because I think we need them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't want to comment too much on that link because obviously the next couple of stories sort of makes it clearer where we are with the centre backs.
Definitely.
But all I would say, Mark, is previous seasons, even if we go back the last 3 summers, right, there was a deficiency always at centre half, and it was never really properly addressed. I mean, we bought Bednarek in, and he was one for the future, and he's blossomed now.
Fantastic.
But in the main, we've brought in Wesley Hoyt, and I think we brought in Wesley Hoyt initially, it was my belief, from the actually partner Van Dijk at centre back because they're both Dutch.
Yeah.
Obviously, that then went by the board once the money came in from Liverpool. And, obviously as well, we weren't making signings probably that Van Dijk was probably promised, I would have thought as well. There's an element to it of that. But having said all that, look, so that happened. Then after that, you had Vestergaard come in for 18 million quid. He wasn't what we'd hoped for. I mean, I actually hoped that he would be a lot better on the deck than what he is. And for the height that he is he any... I mean, to say that Heading's probably his strongest asset, but then there's times when, he doesn't even need to spring off the ground and he still can't head the ball, and you're sat there thinking, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apart from that, I think a second defender, because the thing as well is yes, we've lost, Yoshida, but the thing is you'd be hoping for a little bit of an upgrade from maybe Vestergaard, and if we can do that and we can offload Vestergaard, then that would be great business for me. If we get two defenders in.
Absolutely. So it's moving on to the next topic, into the next
centre back. Centre back.
Next article. This is obviously relating to another centre back, and Saints are apparently leading the chase to sign Sampdoria defender Omar Colley, despite interest from West Ham and Newcastle United, according to The Sun. He's a late blooming defender, aged 27, looks set to become only the second Gambian ever to play in the Premier League. So potentially you could have a Ghanaian and a Gambian lining up in Saints' centre of defence. So communication shouldn't be a problem, I wouldn't have thought. I think they're both on pretty much the same wavelength and certainly be able to understand each other. Colley will be open to make a far bigger impact on British shores than his international teammate Mo Barrow, which is an interesting name for a footballer. But yeah, so Saints are allegedly believed to be leading the chase for Sampdoria defender Omar Colley. Interesting that, given that Maya Yoshida went to Sampdoria, Mark.
Yeah, well, that might be even part of any deal, mate. I mean, the other thing that I wanted to point out to Saints fans is, even though we've signed Salisu, we haven't actually spent any money, because if you take it that the Charlie Austin money was still sat there, and this is even if you take into account the signing of Gineppo and the signing of Shea Adams, right? Those two were brought in the strength of other transfer activity that was done that summer. So when Charlie Austin signed for West Brom on transfer day, right, for £5 million or whatever it is, club still had that money.
That's right.
Then you take that forward into the January, right, and in the January, £3 million for Yoshida, right, because obviously he moved out, and I think because Arsenal were paying the wages and all the rest of it, the package for Suarez was round about the 4 to 5 million quid mark. So if you take all that into consideration, that's savings of around 14 million quid.
Also, Manolo Gabbiadini obviously went to Sampdoria as well.
Exactly. But I'm just dealing with the money that was available to them, at the end of that window, and none of this money's been spent. So, in actual fact, we've made our first signing, and we've probably spent that money now. So, if they were to sign Colley, who's 27, by the way, bit more experience, but I look at the two of them, and you'd think Colley was Salisu's older brother. They're both huge fellas. They're both 6'3". They both look like they're built like Sherman tanks. Even though I don't know about Colley, but I've seen some of Salisu's highlights, and he can move. He can move, mate.
Colley's a bit of a unit, to be fair.
Yeah, so let's hope that a deal can be done. But I just wanted to point that out to Saints fans. So we haven't actually spent any money as far as I'm concerned yet in the window, even if Salisu joins. So hopefully the Colley deal can come off, and Mark's got more news on how that might happen.
Yeah, so obviously it's likely to happen if we offload Yannick Vestergaard to Leicester. They're allowed to be back in for him, and they're allowed to be able to get him for about 15 million quid. So obviously if the 15 million comes in from that, there's more money in the coffers, and that's probably likely to fund any move for Colley, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's my take on that. That's how I believe that's going to happen.
I mean,
and I think, to be fair, from my point of view, for me personally, that ties up all the centre halves for now. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, all I wanted to say on that point, Mark, was if you watched Leicester on Sunday, right, the fella who they actually brought in instead of bringing Vestergaard in on loan, because they wanted to bring Vestergaard in, Leicester wanted to bring Vestergaard in on loan in January, and the fella they ended up bringing in, Ryan Bennett, he had an absolutely horrific time at Tottenham on Sunday. So I don't think he's going to be bought permanently from Wolves. Right. And I think, Brendan might actually look at Vestergaard. So it's a possibility. And even if it isn't, I would still hope that he might get offloaded somewhere else this summer.
Yeah, no, I think that's more than summed that up brilliantly. So we'll move on now, and the next set of transfer links all relate to fullbacks. And we're starting with the fact that Saints are hoping to seal a 10 million deal for Kyle Walker-Peters ahead of their rivals. Based on the performances I've seen so far, Mark, I think if it's 10 million quid, I would definitely sign him if we can. For me, he's definitely an option at right back. He's had a bit of a shaky game against Man City, but he's got his mojo back after that. And for me, I think we should sign him if we can. I don't think there's any debate on that one.
I agree. The only thing is if Saints have set a price, they may. I can't see them going above that price if they've set a price.
Yeah.
I'm relieved with the news coming out of the club that they don't want Højbjerg to be part of the deal. The two deals are going to be completely separate.
Yeah, right.
So, Kyle Walker-Peters, I'd love to have him at the club, but it's like everything else. The club know what they're doing from a financial point of view, and they will want to pay over the odds for him. But then, my hope would be that we do try to row the boat out a little bit, Mark, because the thing is whatever happens, they're going to get more money, hopefully, for Højbjerg than what it's going to cost to bring Kyle Walker-Peters. I mean, to be honest with you, if Saints are paying more than 12 million to, 12 million to 14 million quid, that's too much money for me. And I would break off negotiations. I know there's a lot of Saints fans out there that wouldn't, but I do think you have to set your price and stand by it.
Absolutely. Yep, definitely. Well, I think we'll move on to the next target. And this is Legia Warsaw coach Alexander Vukovic has admitted that Southampton and Tottenham Hotspur target Michael Karbownik could leave this summer if the Polish giants receive an offer they can't refuse. Speaking to Sport, Poland seem to have a happy habit of producing prolific number 9s, but in this dynamic team sensation, they appear to have a fullback of top-class potential in their hands too. He's actually a left-back, and he's actually produced 8 assists from left-back in 2019-20 alone, but there's a growing feeling that, like Trent Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool, his future lies in the centre of the park instead. So he could be one for the future. It could well play in, by the sounds of it, centre of the park. Sounds as though he could play in central midfield. So it could possibly be a Pierre-Emile Højbjerg replacement, Mark.
Yeah. I mean, all I would say there is...
He can play left-back as well.
Yeah. I mean, all I would say is by the sounds of it, it'd probably be a good signing because, Wilkins, but will he make that many appearances? Might it be right and proper to have, a number 2 who, if say Ryan Bertrand was to leave next summer, there's a replacement there, and obviously Vokins is there as well. And like you said, he can play, maybe in the centre of the park. I mean, I don't really think it's a goer, if I'm honest, Mark. The idea of the show is to cover everything.
Yep.
But all I would say is hopefully, we won't need to sign him. But I just find it strange whenever managers turn around and say, I don't really want to lose him. Of course they do. They're keen to get the money in.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, no, I agree with that. All right, we'll move on to another story relating to another fullback. This is I want to go Germany. Saints target opt-in against St Mary's move over advanced contacts in April. So over the past couple of months, we've been keeping a close eye on the situation surrounding Diavezo Sivuk. Saints this summer and the club were in advanced contacts with the player in April. Just over a week ago, it was reported by Football International Saints were still in the race for the 22-year-old, and it appeared the defender's now made his choice. Unfortunately for Ralph Hasenhüttl and his staff, it's not Southampton, as he wants to go to Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga. So, looks as though this one may be one that got away, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely got it, Mark. As you know, I would have loved to have seen him in a Saints shirt playing for us.
Yep.
I mean, probably a bit of a cheaper option. Yes, I'm not denying that, but I think he could have done a good job for us. And basically, what I would say is good luck to him in the Bundesliga, but disappointed that he decided to make that choice, especially as the club. I mean, I got the impression that the club was very keen to announce his signing, and we'd covered this a couple of weeks ago. Whenever I'd said to you that it sounded like they were hopeful that they were going to sign him because they were in advanced contract talks with him. So, let's hope, that he progresses for himself in the Bundesliga. But as I say, it's certainly one that's got away, and it's disappointing. And let's hope that we're not putting all our eggs into one basket with Kyle Walker-Peters, and they do have other targets and other options at right back.
Definitely. All right, so we'll move on from the full-backs because I think we've covered them in quite a fair bit of detail, to be fair, and quite fully. So Everton have allegedly come back in with another offer for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. It's alleged that they came in with a bid of around 18 million last week. We're led to believe that they've actually increased that offer to 20 million with add-ons, so take it close to about 25 million. But we're led to believe as well that Saints wanted about 35 million, so I don't know if they're close on the valuation there. If that has or hasn't happened, I'm not sure on that one. And also, Tottenham have been told to increase their offer for him as well. And so it'd be interesting to see whether they've basically been told to increase their offer or forget about signing him. So it'd be interesting to see if Tottenham and Everton are going to have a bit of a bidding war over him, or if they're both going to back that out. But there's a few sort of conflicting stories. So obviously, people saying Everton have agreed a deal, that he's agreed personal terms, etc. That Tottenham have now bid as well, so they're now in the race. It's all a bit confused about Pierre, isn't it? But I would make the point that if somebody's offered 25 million for him, I'd say take the money and run. Because I think 25 million for a player with a year left on his contract is a pretty good deal, to be fair.
Right, Mark, as I understand it, as it stands, I mean, as far as I'm aware, Everton have offered around 22 million quid, right? And it might be 25. And if it is 25, I take the money and run. But I just want to say one thing. On Tottenham. Tottenham are nowhere, from what I've read, Tottenham are nowhere near, anywhere near the figure that Saints are even talking about. I mean, they're miles off. They're absolute miles off. And this is one of the reasons why the Kyle Walker-Peters deal and the Højbjerg deal, the club want to try and keep separate because they're nowhere near, absolutely nowhere. For a team that's that keen to have him, last week he was up at the Tottenham training complex meeting Jose Mourinho.
Rumours today where he'd been to the Everton training ground and agreed personal terms, so there you go. Mate, what you want of that?
But that's rumour, mate. The thing is this is fact. He was at Tottenham last week.
Yep.
and he met Jose Mourinho. What worries me about this is the player obviously has set his sights on moving to Tottenham.
Yep.
You know, and it's whether the club and him can reconcile themselves, because it's my belief that, and rightfully so, that the club, Southampton Football Club, should be selling Højbjerg to the highest bidder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I wouldn't give him any choice in it. It'd be a case of, well, this is where you're going.
Yeah.
You made it clear you wanted out. There you go. You got your move.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we'll move on from Pierre before we end up dwelling on it too much. Very fast and strong. Reported 18 million Southampton target being compared to Edinson Cavani. So his prolific Almeria striker Darwin Núñez has been compared to Edinson Cavani after being linked with an 18 million move to Southampton. Oh, I'll tell you what, we don't learn our lesson about signing forwards for 18, 19, 20 million, do we? I hope this guy's a lot better than Guido Carrillo, because if he's better than him, fair enough, sign him. But
right. I mean, all I would say to the listeners is don't be panicking too much, because the actual article goes on to say that, you know, he's being considered if the worst was to happen and Southampton were to sell Danny Ings, which, listeners, trust me, it's not going to happen this summer. It would have to be a ridiculous bid for Danny Ings of £100 million, as far as I'm concerned, before the club, I think, would even entertain selling him. So that I think this story came out of the fact that a lot of ex-professionals who we try not to cover on the show, because invariably a lot of the stuff that comes out of their mouths tends to be, you know, inaccurate or just basically trying to make up a story. I mean, we've seen this week Danny Mills trying to link Adam Lallana with a move back to Southampton. So anyway, moving on, Mark.
Yes, Danny Mills is a world-renowned expert on everything and nothing. Yeah, anyway, Fulham Lone Star attracting Premier League transfer interest. We all know this is according to a report from the Daily Mail. Premier League outfit Burnley are interested in signing Fulham Lone Star Harrison Reed. Yep, okay, well, you can probably have a go at that, but my understanding is, by what I've been hearing, Ralph Hasenhüttl seems to be in favour of bringing him back into the fold and giving him an opportunity, possibly, depending on what happens with Højbjerg.
I've heard something similar, but it's like everything else, Mark. If the money's right, every player's for sale.
Yeah,
you know, and I think we'll have to be right about this. You know, the thing is he may be looking at him as a replacement for Højbjerg, you know, without actually having to spend any money. Absolutely. But I think you know, if Burnley are interested and Saints can get a deal done that's suitable to them, you know, it's like I say to you, every player has their price, you know, as far as we're concerned as a football club. And I don't like saying it because I don't agree with it. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's a case of watch this space. It could go either way for Harrison this season, to be honest. He could very easily be offloaded to somebody else on a permanent transfer, or, like you said, he could be given the platform by Ralph to show what he can do after we've sold Pierre.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that, definitely. I think that's probably summed out quite well as well. So, Phil Hayes mooted the possibility of Leeds United renewing their interest in goalkeeper Angus Gunn this summer, with doubts surrounding Kike Casillas' future. Casillas, 33, has failed to return to Marcelo Bielsa's starting lineup since serving his 8-match ban for racial abuse, and remains to be seen whether or not he'll leave Ellen Road ahead of next season. According to the Athletic journalist Hay, Arsenal's Emi Martinez is on Leeds' radar, while Southampton goalkeeper Gunn is also someone who the Whites may pursue. Would you let Angus Gunn go, Mark? Bear in mind, he's been at St Mary's 2 years. I'd
let him go even if Leeds were prepared to pay his wages for a season on loan. And better than that, if they were to offer a transfer fee of roughly what we paid for him. Again, I don't think you'd get the 13 million that we initially paid for him from Man City. I think you know, it might be a bit less than that, but certainly if you can still get the money for him, because he's still young, he's still got time to mature and be a good goalkeeper. So if you can get the money, I'd take the money and run, to be honest, because if Fraser's coming back down here and he's serious about, challenging for the number one spot, that remains to be seen. Because, like I said on previous podcasts, Mark, it's my belief that he's came down here to see what moves are going to be made in the Premiership transfer market. And I think he maybe might fancy himself as a number two at a bigger club.
Well, what I find interesting.
Watch this space, but certainly if Fraser decides that he's staying, then obviously the move for Angus Gunn to go to Leeds would be a great one for the football club.
So I'm wondering if there's any legs to this story at all, or whether it's just lazy journalism, because obviously, interesting enough, Bielsa was looking at Angus Gunn, was interested in him before he signed for Saints 2 years ago. So, I'm wondering if there is any legs to the story, or if it's just purely simply a bit of lazy journalism because they were interested in him before. Let's see. I mean, it probably wouldn't hurt him to have a bit of a loan spell somewhere else. He did have a massive dip in form, and let's not forget, sadly for Angus, was on the end of a 9-0, wasn't he? Which you can't really blame him 100% for, but I know he took a lot of flack for that.
One reason why I did include the story, because I know you're being slightly dismissive there, is Phil Hay does a lot of stuff with Leeds, right? And he was actually the one that was responsible for linking Shay Adams to Leeds in the January window. And the thing is, as we now know, that had legs because Leeds had offered money to Southampton, but thankfully, our manager Ralph decided that he wasn't interested in selling him in the January, and it's proved to be, it's a decision that's proved to be made correct.
No, agree with that. Right, I think we'll move on now to our preview. Sorry, hang on. We won't be moving on to that. We're going to take our last break today, and when we come back, we'll be doing our review of Saints versus Sheffield United on Sunday.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Right, everybody, welcome back to the last part of today's show, which is the Two Saints preview of Saints versus Sheffield United. This coming up on Sunday. Saints' opportunity to finish on 52 points. Come on, you Reds. What do you reckon, Mark? Full strength, go for it, get the 3 points. Give it a
100%, mate. I would be strongest team last game of the season, strongest side out, all guns blazing, as high intensity as they can get, cover every blade of grass, secure the 3 points. It's a strange one because in the corresponding fixture, you had, Gineppo score another wonder goal. Up at Bramall Lane, and it was a good result. I remember coming back fairly buoyed because it wasn't too bad of a start, funnily enough, to the season. And then obviously it went all a little bit pear-shaped, but won't go into that. One of the things I do remember from that game, Mark, was Billy Sharp's revenge. It felt like it was some sort of revenge tackle on Stuart Armstrong, because he came onto the pitch and obviously I don't know what was going on, but Billy Sharp was all fired up, obviously felt he had a point to prove. I felt against a team that rejected him the way he was running about the pitch, trying to get tackles in and everything else. And then he caught Stuart Armstrong in a fairly bad challenge and got sent off. And I was disappointed to see him because, funnily enough, both sets of supporters cheered him off the pitch.
Interesting one. 85th minute sending off, as you say. Yeah, what he said, he got cheered on by both sets of fans, which was interesting. He's obviously held in quite a high regard by both sets of fans. But 85th minute sending off, wasn't it? Maybe he was a little bit too pumped up, as you said.
Yeah. I mean, all I would say is, and thanks for correcting us there, I meant to say cheered on by both sets of fans. And he came onto the pitch, and obviously there was a lot of vamped up energy there, let's say. So he was running around like a dervish, trying to get tackles in. Obviously, they're 1-0 down, and he obviously felt he wanted to try and get them back into the game. But the tackle on Stuart Armstrong left a lot to be desired, to be fair, and he was rightly sent off.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I just think on the roll we're on, and the fact that the form of Sheffield United sort of dipped during the restart, I don't think they were done any favours by basically having that goal disallowed in the very first game. It sort of kind of killed their momentum a bit. Obviously, dampened the team spirit, I would have thought, a little bit as well. And we've seen that because now they can only finish 8th in the table.
Yes,
Sheffield United. So I'm hopeful that. Well, not hopeful. I'm pretty sure that we can come away with the 3 points, given that they've beat Wolves, and I think they beat Tottenham as well, if I'm right. So those are 2 major scalps, since restart. But I don't know. It just seems they have struggled a little bit, and I do think we're playing them at a good time, even though it's the last game of the season. So hopefully 3 points, break the 50-point mark. Yeah. And and I'm gonna go for a Saints 3-1 victory.
Cool. That sounds good to me. I think also Ollie McBurney looked like he'd given them the lead just for the break when we played them, obviously, and definitely knocked the wind out of their sails. And it was a bit of Musa magic. So, a bit of dancing feet from Musa Janapo, sort of danced his way for a few players and finished brilliantly. I mean, I'll agree with you. I think it's going to be 3-1 Saints, and I think I quite fancy Danny Ings to finish the season with a couple of goals.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if he gets 2 or if he even manages to get a hat-trick.
I've got to say, from my point of view, it's funny you mention Ollie McBurney, Mark, but he's my man to watch in the Sheffield United team. He's definitely my man to watch, and what I would say is what impresses me most about him is his work rate and energy. He covers every blade of grass, so he's certainly one for the Saints fans to watch out for on Sunday. But like I said, I'm still expecting us to win 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, I expect full strength Saints side with the way they've been playing. Every chance to get that, and it'd be great to see Danny Ings finish the season with a hat trick, wouldn't it? Probably won't happen, but it'd be great to see that if he does get it. So I hope he does, but get a brace at least, Danny. At least make it interesting for the last game of the season.
You'll be doing cartwheels at our next recording if he scores a hat trick.
Oh, definitely. Well, it would just sum this season up brilliantly, wouldn't it? To be fair, no more needs deserves. His hard work deserved it. To be fair, I mean, he could have had a couple against Bournemouth. Didn't quite happen. He could have had a hat trick against Bournemouth. Actually, technically, one just passed the post, didn't he? Went just wide and missed it. So he could have had a hat trick. So who knows? You can never rule him out. But for me, full strength Saints side. I agree with you, 3-1. And I think that sums it up brilliantly. And I think, to be fair, that's probably a really good place to end today's show, Mark. So I'll give Mark the opportunity to say his goodbyes to you first.
Yep. So basically, I just want to say to you all, hope you're all keeping safe, keeping well, and enjoying the content that we're putting out there. In the meantime, till next week, look after each other. And that's it from me. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Thank you very much for listening, everybody. So just a reminder to you all, obviously we're back on Fiesta 95 FM now every Thursday, 12 till 2 p.m. That's Fiesta 95 in Southampton. Also, onlineradiobox.com. You can do it via that. If you don't want to do it that way, you can wait till our podcast goes up on our Facebook page, 2 Saints Show on Facebook. You can go onto the Facebook page, message us directly on there. We can send the podcast directly to you, or you can listen to it there. If you don't want to do it that way, you can check it out on YouTube. We've got our YouTube channel, the 2 Saints Podcast Show. You can check it out on there. But that's all from us today. And from myself, Mark C, and my co-host, Mark H, is goodbye. And I'd just like to say, join us again next week when the 2 Saints will be marching in again.